In this video, I will go over how I use my mobile device for slicing models and sending my prints remotely to my 3D printers. I am using my Samsung phone, as you can see here, and I will be providing direct recording which I will display on screen so everyone can follow along. The app I use is called SliceBeam, which is an early development project over on GitHub. The application is created by Oetgebauer, I hope I got that right, which you can follow the link below to take a look for yourself. As you can see here, the slicer is based off of Prusa Slicer, which allows you to create or import your existing Prusa Slicer profiles. Starting off with the printer profile where you can input your machine limits, then followed by the filament profile where you can tune your material and cooling settings, and lastly the print profile where you can adjust layer heights, infill, supports, and speeds. We will load up a simple calibration cube model which I have saved on Google Drive. However, you can also download any STL file directly to your phone and load that in. With the model loaded in, we can rotate and inspect the model the same as any other slicer. We are a bit limited for making adjustments to the model. However, we can still rotate the model around the X, Y, and Z axes. We can translate the model around the bed on all three axes. And we can even scale the model along each axis as needed. Once we have our print model inspected and the appropriate printing profile selected, we can go ahead and slice the model. This is a simple model and the slicing was performed very quick with no warnings. We can rotate the bed and inspect the model to ensure we have no issues during the printing process. We do have the option to inspect the model layer by layer. This way we can take a look at the initial layer, infill, walls, and top layer to ensure everything will print as expected. Once everything looks good, we can either save the G-code file and transfer that manually, send the G-code to the printer, or give the command to send and print the file, which is what we will do here. As you can see in the background, the file has been successfully sent to the printer. Now, I personally use Octoapp to monitor all my printers using my phone. It is a great application that is available on both iOS and Android. Here we can see that the file has been loaded up, the temperatures of the hot end and bed, which is currently heating to 55 degrees, and even get a nice G-code preview of the file. Now, let's load up the fluid interface for this printer and make sure we are not getting any errors back from the console output. Scrolling down, you can see that so far there are no issues. Once the bed reaches the target temperature of 55 degrees, the printer will home and start to print. So while the printer heats up, let's go over 3 downsides from this mobile slicer. First downside. Setting up custom print profiles is always painful, and doing so on a mobile phone just makes it worse. However, you can always import profiles from Prusa Slicer. So if you have been using Prusa Slicer, setting up the mobile slicer will be a breeze. For those using other slicers, most people will be out of luck importing profiles. The only exception being Orca Slicer. There is an experimental feature to import Orca Slicer printer profiles. As long as they are default profiles or your own fully custom profiles, they will import without an issue. Second downside, kind of a minor one. This application is currently only available for Android. iOS is currently not supported, but if all goes well for the developer, maybe they can get this ported over to iOS. Third downside, kind of a major one. All of the advanced features for slicing models are not available, at least in this version. A few examples: the only support option is for auto-generated supports, which means no manual supports and support painting. You cannot paint Z-seams, no model assemblies, no lay on face option, which comes in very handy for some models, no split the objects or split the parts, and no multicolor or multi-material options. But with the fact that this is a very early version of the mobile slicer, it is looking very promising that this will evolve into something amazing that everyone will be able to use and enjoy. And one recent update that happened while I was editing this video added the slice times to the app. So now you can see the estimated times for printing that are used to seeing in most slicers. Nice. And huge thanks to Utkabolber for developing this. You can check out their GitHub for other projects like custom firmware for the Anycubic Cobra 3 and Beam Clipper. Now, in case you haven't noticed, I actually performed the slicing and send print over my cellular network. I was not connected to my home Wi-Fi. There are a few ways to accomplish this, but I use NordVPN's MeshNet feature to enable this. MeshNet allows you to connect to other devices that have the NordVPN app installed and transfer files usually. Another feature for MeshNet is to allow all network traffic to be routed through another device, essentially creating your own VPN. This pretty much allows my phone to always behave like it is connected to my home network, and this in turn allows me to simply enter the IP address for my printers and connect directly to them as if I were on my home Wi-Fi. So now I can monitor my printers, send commands, and even print while I'm away and have a data connection. Yes, there is Bamboo Handy, which does have this feature, but this only applies to Bamboo printers and only if there exists a print profile for that model. Using Beam Slicer and MeshNet, I can now find models from any model sharing site, slice the model on my phone, and print the model from anywhere. And the fact that this is now possible is just simply amazing. So, quick recap. On an Android device, we can now slice models directly from our phone using SliceBeam. SliceBeam is a mobile slicer that is based off of Prusa Slicer, and you can use default profiles or your own, which you can import from Prusa Slicer and Orca Slicer. I am very glad that we can import from Orca Slicer. There can be some errors when importing from Orca, but this usually happens when you piggyback off of other profiles. We can slice and print remotely using NordVPN's MeshNet feature, but NordVPN is not the only option. You can use a Raspberry Pi and OpenVPN to set up your own method of connecting back into your home network while you are away. And luckily, there are plenty of tutorials out there for how to set this up. Again, huge thanks to Utkabolber for making this possible, and I look forward to future iterations. And thank you for watching.